What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So as of me uploading this video right now, I'm actually currently away on vacation and I'm not going to be back until the 11th of February. So I want to just pre-record some videos for you guys that I know some people have been asking about for a while, and some of these videos are made in the past, but I want to go ahead and bring you guys just kind of like updated versions of these videos because I know some people ask about them, especially if you are a newer style player, and because we are getting closer and closer to the anniversary, I know we're going to be getting a lot of new players coming in, so this is going to be a good opportunity to give you guys some pointers as to which are the best Coliseum units to farm for. Now, there are a vast array of Coliseum units that you can farm for in One Piece Treasure Cruise, and, you know, obviously some of them are pretty bad, and some of them are really good, and some of them, like, you have to farm to beat certain pieces of content. So in this video today, we're going to go through my top 10. I wouldn't say like they're the overall best, they're probably just the ones that I use the most. Some characters are still really good that aren't on this list, but I just want to suggest to you guys the ones that I use the most out of all the Coliseum units available right now on Global. As of me recording this video, Coliseum Stampede Law is not currently out. I probably wouldn't put him on this list. He is pretty decent, but I'm not really 100% sure if he would go on this list or not, but he is really good, and you probably should still farm him either way. But the first unit we're going to be talking about is going to be Smoothie. Smoothie is a character that is actually pretty decent. So, of course, well, she has to be decent to be on this list, right? She's a slasher powerhouse. She's an int character. And the main reason why you want this character is because of her special ability, which maxes at 13 turns. Does 100 times her attack in int damage to a single enemy, and also will make Dex, Quick, and int orbs beneficial for slasher and powerhouse for 1 turn. So, in that 1 turn, you activate that special. Getting more beneficial slots is always going to be useful to have. And then if your captain is either slasher or powerhouse, powerhouse being one of the best classes in the entire game, probably up there, like either the first or second best class in the game, we'll then go ahead and boost the color affinity of slasher and powerhouse characters by 1.75 times for 3 turns. So this is a great special ability that you can carry color affinity through multiple different rooms. This character released with the release of V2 Katakuri, and this character works phenomenal on a V2 Katakuri team, as V2 Katakuri predominantly relies on his type advantage to get as much damage as possible. So if you're adding this character onto your team and you plan out correctly, you can get some insane damage output. But another thing why I wanted to suggest this character is because as we are moving closer and closer to the anniversary, we are expecting it to be Kaido to be our anniversary legend, and this is a great character to put on Kaido's team, as Kaido is a character that boosts both striker and powerhouse characters. So this character works really good with Kaido, giving you more beneficial slots, and color affinity always really good to have. As for her sailor abilities, unfortunately they're not really that good, and she doesn't really have like amazing limit break abilities. I mean, the crit 80% chance for 8% extra damage, that's not terrible actually for a free-to-play unit, actually not that bad. But overall, you mainly want her for 3 turns of color affinity and more beneficial slots for your team, which is pretty nice to have. So this is my ranking number 10 for the Coliseum units, being Coliseum Smoothie. Again, another character that works very well with Kaido that's going to be coming out, well, we are expecting to be coming out with the anniversary, is going to be Coliseum Neko. This guy has been out for a really long time on Global, but more often than not, you don't actually really use him that often. But if you are more of a newer player, and if you are going to be starting the game, this is a really nice character to have, especially if you don't have many characters that give you beneficial slots, or characters that boost your attack. This character is great. So the reason why this character is so good, 9 turn cooldown for his special is really good. Deals 50 times his attack in fixed tightless damage to one enemy that ignores damage negating abilities and barriers. So the fact that it's fixed damage is actually pretty important. And if the enemy has all debuff protection or only delay debuff protection when you use his special, boost the attack of striker and powerhouse characters by 1.75 for 1 turn, and also changes all orbs including block into matching orbs. This is the main component of his special ability, why I think you should probably farm him up. If you don't have many characters, this character is so good. A full board of orbs and a tight boost to 2 separate classes. And again, as I said, works very well on Kaido teams because Kaido boosts striker and powerhouse. This character also boosts striker and powerhouse, giving you a full board of orbs and a tight boost, bro. it's a wrap. It is a wrap. So good. He has dex damage reduction and 10 turns of slot bind removal. Not too bad for a free-to-play unit. Most legends that have slot bind remove it by 10 turns. So that's, again, like, pretty good. So this is definitely a character that I would suggest to max out, mainly because, yeah, a full board of matching orbs. And you gotta remember, the full board of matching orbs, it doesn't matter what type or color your unit is. They're guaranteed to get the full board of orbs. They don't have to be Striker or Powerhouse. He just specifically will boost Striker and Powerhouse characters' attacks. So even if you don't want the type boost, it's still really nice to get a full board of guaranteed matching orbs that gets rid of block orbs as well. The next character on this list is the first dual unit to arrive in the Coliseum, which is Doflamingo and Treble. Very interesting unit. I haven't really used them that much since I have farmed them, but they were really good in recent treasure maps to run them either as a sub or as a captain. So if they're ever boosted on a treasure map, they're very nice to have because they actually have a pretty decent captain ability. 2.75 times attack to Driven and Cerebral, and they give you a small HP and recovery boost, and recovery in tandem are beneficial to those two classes as well, so that's really nice to have. As for his Sailor ability, it makes recovery orbs beneficial for Driven and Cerebral. That's really nice to have. And his special ability, of course, the main component, 11 turn cooldown, switches orbs between slots twice. Not an amazing ability, but sometimes it can be useful. He also locks all of your orbs for one turn, which that actually could be very useful. Then he locks the chain multiplier at 2.75 for one turn. To have a free-to-play character that's just a free 2.75 chain lock, you definitely need to farm this guy up. That's really useful to have. And then he obviously becomes the dual unit for 2 turns. But however, if you hit 4 perfects during the turn you activate his special, in the following turn, you get a 3.25 times chain lock. Now, unfortunately, this specific ability does not, like, prevent the enemy's preemptive attack of giving you a negative type of chain lock. That would have been awesome if it was able to avoid that. Unfortunately, it's not the case. So if the enemy still gives you like a really low chain lock, this is not a way to get around it. But saying that, this is just a character you can chuck on your team to not only lock your orbs, but you can get a chain lock in multiple different rooms, allowing you to just deal absolutely crazy damage. Another really cool thing about this character is they have a really nice switch ability. So you get a guaranteed matching orb on the character when they switch, but an added effect that they apply is they make strength and dex orbs beneficial for your entire team for one turn. Again, that can be just a really useful effect if you get strength and dex orbs just to make them beneficial, or if the enemy gives you some strength and dex orbs, you can make them beneficial. This character, I haven't used him so much since I have farmed him up, but still, you can't deny that on paper, this character has a really nice kit and just allows you to output more damage, which is really good. So the next character on this list is the most recent Coliseum to arrive on Global as of me recording this video, is Coliseum Jinbei. Now, Coliseum Jinbei, I wouldn't really suggest farming this up unless if you have a very powerful Cerebral captain. Like, if you have an account that has, like, Sabo and Coalla, or if you have, like, Vivian, Rebecca, or Shirahoshi and Manshuri, I would probably suggest this character because his special is great. So his captain ability is actually not bad for a 2.75 boost to 2 separate classes and a 1.3 health boost. He can't be blown away as a sub, which doesn't activate that often. It's not an ability that you're going to need all the time, but in those certain circumstances where you do get characters blown away and you can just completely avoid that, it's pretty nice to have. Now, his special ability, 13 turns, adds 0.5 to the chain multiplier for 2 turns, which is a pretty nice additive little bit of damage, and then reduces damage received above 3000 HP by 97% for 2 turns. So just allowing you for 2 turns to basically tank any massive death hit, which is really useful to have. It's always nice to have those type of characters to tank death hits, like other Colosseums, like Pedro, right? Coliseum Pedro, when you farm him, when you kill him, he does like 200,000 damage to your team. If you have this guy, you can completely avoid that death damage. Well, not really avoid it, but you can tank it very well. And obviously, if you need to stall, you can just activate it and just tank 2 hits quite comfortably. But then he has an added effect as well, where, as I said, if your captain is either fighter or cerebral, mainly cerebral because cerebral are the far superior class, he removes all enemies' damage threshold reduction completely. So damage threshold is one of the most annoying things to get around. There are plenty of characters that can remove it these days, so that's not really too much of a problem. But, you know, looking at, like, Vivian Rebecca remove all turns of Blue and Rainbow Shield. If you have this guy on that team, you remove Blue Shield and Rainbow Shield and Threshold. All turns of it completely with just 2 characters. So you have that effect, which is just really good. So honestly, I do think this character is worth farming up just because of his uniqueness. There are no characters in the game that just remove all turns of damage threshold. Obviously, if you have Legend Carrot, you don't really need to worry about that too much. If you have Legend Carrot, you would not want to be using Jinbei, as damage reducing effects like this do not activate on Carrot teams, and you don't need to remove the damage threshold if you're using Carrot. But either way, this is still a really nice character that will help you clear some very niche styles of content. Another older style Coliseum unit that we're going to go through now is Coliseum NL at my 6th position, who is a shooter driven character. He's also a strength unit. This character is actually very, very good for the upcoming legend arriving on Global, Douglas Bullet. By the time you guys are seeing this video, Douglas Bullet would have already been out. But this character is very good for Douglas Bullet, and you guys will see why. So his special ability is multi-stage, 14 turns for his max cooldown, or 13 after limit break. He changes his own orb into strength, so guaranteed matching orb, reduces crew's attack down and chain multiply limit, and paralysis by 5 turns. So any character that can remove a major debuff by 5 turns is automatically very, very useful to have. But the fact that he reduces 2 major ones in paralysis and attack down is humongous. Chain multiply limit doesn't occur that often, but having that is just a really nice effect to remove. And then if your captain is a driven character, he adds 0.7 to the chain multiplier for 1 turn. So if you are the type of player that, you know, you have Douglas Bullet but you don't have many other good characters to put on his team, this is a character you want to have. So not only do you get the amazing utility of 5 turns of removal, but you also get the chain boost, especially with Douglas Bullet. So this is a really, really good character. I can't stress that enough. I've used this character so much in the past. And even if you want to build a shooter team specifically, this character, again, is such a good character for shooter teams. Even though shooters are probably the worst class in the game, if you want to build a shooter team, this is a character you want to have maxed out, as his debuff removal is very, very important, as shooters do not have many good utility characters. So yeah, this is probably one of my favorite Coliseum units in the entire game. I use him very, very often. Another Coliseum unit that sees a lot of play, especially if you are more of a free-to-play player, is Coliseum Kumar, who is a shooter cerebral character. Again, another shooter character. If you want to build shooter teams, very, very good for that. His captain ability is nothing amazing, but he makes sight orbs beneficial for shooter characters, which, again, if you want to build shooter teams, really, really nice to have. So, as for his special, 13 turn cooldown, reduces enemies' threshold damage reduction and % damage reduction by 3 turns. So, the damage threshold reduction, which is what Coliseum Jinbei that we talked about earlier, he removes all turns of that, but this guy removes that by 3 turns and Rainbow Shield by 3 turns, and then adjacent orbs will be changed into recovery. If you're specifically running this character on a cerebral team, that is not going to be an issue, as if you're running the Zunisha ship, you're going to be counting those as beneficial. But saying that though, there are lots of characters as a sailor that can make recovery beneficial, or even as a captain can make them beneficial. And then he has a really cool added effect that if there are 2 or more enemies when you use the special, he instantly defeats 1 enemy with HP equal to or below 350 times this character's attack. So let's pull up the calculator. He has 1502 times by 350. If they have less than that HP, they get instantly defeated. However, he'll go ahead and cut the HP of one enemy by 20% that ignores all damage negating abilities and barriers otherwise. So if you don't KO an enemy, you still get a 20% health cut, only if there are 2 or more enemies on the enemy side of the field. So it's really nice to have just that really cool unique effect on top of that, but the main reason why you're using him is this utility here of the threshold and also the Rainbow Shield removal, which is really, really good to have. As for his limit break abilities, barrier penetration, which can be useful, and reducing no healing or the recovery bind duration by 3 turns. So this is a character that sees a lot of play, especially on treasure maps. Like whenever he's boosted, more often than not, you're going to be using him on one team because that threshold removal or the Rainbow Shield removal is really, really key. So that's why I rank Kumar so high, because in terms of free to play, he sees a lot of play. So the next character on this list is Coliseum Male, who is more of a recent character that arrived on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global, and the main reason why I rank him so high on this list is because he has a really unique ability that no other character in the game really has, and we'll talk about that. So he can't be blown away also as a sailor, very similar to Coliseum Jinbei. That is very nice. But he has a 14 turn cooldown special that reduces enemies' threshold damage reduction and resilience buffs by 5 turns. So that's a really cool effect. And he halves enemies' defense for 1 turn. So this is automatically like just a better version than Kumar. Obviously, this guy doesn't remove Rainbow Shield, but he removes the threshold by 5 turns and resilience by 5 turns. Now, removing resilience isn't really that big of a deal. There are plenty of other ways to get around resilience, obviously with poison, end of turn damage, just health cuts, like end of turn health cuts, you can get around resilience very, very easily these days. But the fact that you just have an ability that not only can you remove Threshold, but you can remove the resilience on top of that is nice. But then you also get that the half defense, which is very important because if your captain is Free Spirit, you boost attack against enemies with reduced defense by 1.75 times for 3 turns. So you get a 3-turn conditional boost, which is very uncommon. I don't remember there being any other conditional booster in the game. There might be 1 or 2 that I can't think of right now. But the fact that he's a 3-turn conditional booster is huge. Of course, your captain has to be Free Spirit, so if you have Sabo and Coalla on your account, this is 100% a character you should be looking to farm for. He is very, very good. But then, during the turn you activate the special, if you hit 2 perfects, he reduces all enemies' defense by 100% in the next turn. So this means that on, let's say, stage 4 of a Colosseum, you use his special, you get a 1.75 conditional boost, you halve the enemy's defense. When you kill that, hitting perfects along the way, in the next turn, because it is a 3-turn conditional boost, you're going to have the 1 turn left of conditional boost on the final stage, and because you hit your 2 perfects, all enemies' defense goes to 0 on the next turn. So you can get literally 2 different stages with a 1.75 times conditional boost. There are no other characters in the game that self-proc like that for 3 turns. Absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal special ability, and this is definitely why I rank him so high, because this is so unique, and this is really freaking good. So Coliseum Male is definitely a character you should be looking to farm. So now we're going to be moving on to my top 3. Now, Coliseum Neptune I use so often. This character is so good. I can't even believe that they even made a free-to-play character this good. Just the amount of effects that you get with him is just so good. Coliseum Neptune is a cerebral powerhouse unit. Literally the 2 best classes in the game. Stats are pretty decent. He has a really good captain ability, actually, so 2 times attack isn't great, but you get 1.5 times EXP, and he heals at the end of each turn, so you want to give him recovery candies if you're going to be using him as a captain. If you don't have Legend Jack and you don't have Rare Recruit Neptune, you have to farm this guy. Additional EXP captains are going to be so nice, allowing you to beat content and then level up basically just more quickly, which means you get more stamina, which means you can farm more. You want to be farming this, especially if you are a newer player to the game. He is a difficult Colosseum, I will admit, but definitely worth it. He also has a really cool Sailor ability. When any other character uses a special, he gets 1 turn of cooldown reduction, which is quite big because he has 15 turn cooldown, which isn't really that high, but the fact that you can get this type of ability means it basically means that you have to stall less, right? If all of your other specials are around, 12 or 13 turns, by the time you get to the boss stage, he might not be ready, but after you use the rest of your specials, he can be ready. So that's really nice that he has that. But his special ability is just so good. So it reduces despair and attack down, and also reduces resilience by 5 turns. And he also will go ahead and reduce the defense of all enemies by 80%. Like, oh. So, yeah, so the despair and attack down removal is great. The resilience removal is great, but this on top of that is just crazy because it means that he can allow other defense down conditional boosters to be run on the team, and you can just get a conditional boost off of that, which is great. But the thing about it is he also will boost the orbs of Cerebral and Powerhouse by 1.75 for 3 turns. So not only do you get amazing debuff removal, but you get 3 turns of a 1.75 orb boost to the 2 best classes in the entire game. Whew, this guy's just too good, man. This guy is way too good. And the fact also he is a powerhouse boosting unit, so, if Kaido does come out for the anniversary, this is definitely a character you want to be farming up for sure. Dude, Coliseum Neptune's great. He has reduced healing by 5 turns and pinch healing as well. Yeah, so you definitely want to rainbow him out. Pinch healing's always going to be useful. Yeah, there's not much really else I can say. He's basically like a really good free-to-play substitute for Rare Recruit Neptune or Legend Jack, and he has one of the better special abilities of a free-to-play character in the entire game. You have to farm this guy up. The secondary character on this list, a character I use very, very often, is Coliseum Magellan. Coliseum Magellan, yeah, he's pretty freaking good. We already talked about Neptune and how good he is. This guy is just as good in a lot of circumstances. Now, in my opinion, his captain ability is a little weaker because I do think that Neptune being an EXP boosting captain is a little bit more valuable, but still, you can't deny this character is really, really, really good. He also reduces special bind on himself by 3 turns, which... there aren't too many characters in the game that just, do that. Like, he doesn't even reduce special bind with his special, but the fact that, if you do get special binded, you can still activate his special, which is really good. He also resists paralysis on himself, which is interesting, but of course he's special, right? 13 turns, 12 turns after limit break, strongly poisons one enemy, and all other enemies will get regular poison. okay? That's very, very important to note. So whichever character you target on the enemy side of the field, and then you activate the special, the enemy that you target will be inflicted with the strong poison, and if there are any other enemies on the enemy side of the field, they'll just get regular poison. But then reduces the defense of all enemies by 100% for 2 turns, so they get 0 defense. Also, reduces enemies' threshold and rainbow shield % damage reduction by 2 turns, so you get a nice utility there. Now 3 turns would have been better because typically when the enemy applies those debuffs, it is at least 3 turns, but I digress. It's still very, very good. And then boost the attack against poisoned and strongly poisoned enemies by 1.75 for 1 turn. So he's a self-proccing conditional boost against poison enemies. Now, typically, poisoned and the defense down conditional boost are hands down the better option. Delay conditional boosts aren't always the best option, as enemies will typically have immunity to delay more often than not. More recently, they've definitely been switching it up where characters will have defense down immunity or poison immunity. But the fact that you have this ability where you can poison and strongly poison the enemy, as well as applying the conditional boost on top of that. Now, the fact that he also reduces defense to 0 for 2 turns is humongous. Obviously, you can't apply another conditional boost on top of that, but it just means that enemies that are tanky, you just reduce their defense to 0. It's phenomenal, and you also get a really, really good array of utility with removing Threshold and Rainbow Shield by 2 turns. This guy's awesome, right? He is a striker character, so you can put him on Legend Kaido teams. He is a quick unit, so you can put him on Douglas Bullet teams. This character is very, very powerful. I would say personally, I do definitely use Coliseum Neptune a little bit more, but I think this guy overall is more useful in terms of for more difficult content, because the strong poison that gets applied to the enemy also will be inflicting them damage every single turn, right? So even if the enemy does have, 3 turns of damage threshold, this guy removes it by 2 turns. You can literally stall 1 turn, and they will get inflicted with strong poison damage, which actually does a pretty decent amount of damage. And then you can go ahead and start bursting from there. Obviously, the conditional boost won't be active then, but there's just really cool effects that you can apply, right? Because you gotta remember that it is 2 turns of 100% defense reduction as well on the enemy. This guy just does heaps. He does so much, and I definitely think this is a character worth maxing out for sure. Now, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that Coliseum Kid is going to be my #1 position. This is 100% hands down the #1 character that I've been using from Coliseum. Coliseum Kid is just something else, bro. He is something else. Again, he is a striker character, so he works perfectly with Legend Kaido. However, with the way that Legend Kaido works, you probably don't even want to be using this character with Kaido because their specials do definitely conflict. So you definitely don't want to do that. But saying that though, this guy's really, really good. He's so strong. So stats are actually really good. Captain ability is fine. It's passable. But his special ability is the main component. 12 turn cooldown. We'll talk about his cooldown in a minute. So his special does 5 hits of random dex damage to random enemies, which isn't too bad. It's not amazing though. But if the enemy does have combo hit barrier, you're able to activate the special and remove 5 hits of that, which is okay. Then he reduces the cooldowns of striker and shooter characters by 2 turns. That is pretty nice to have, just allowing you to clear content faster. And then if your captain is either striker or shooter, he deals 350 times his attack as dex damage to all enemies at the end of the turn for the next 2 turns. So if we pull up the calculator, once again, the trusty calculator, 1525, and this is 100% a character you want to be feeding some cotton candy. And of course, when you feed 100 attack cotton candy, you get 200 additional attack. Times by 350, you deal 603,750 damage in dex damage for the next 2 turns. Meaning that if you do attack against a quick enemy, this damage is doubled. And then of course, if you are attacking against a strength enemy, it is halved, unfortunately. But still, that amount of damage is great. If you do have other sailor abilities that boost the attack of characters that are striker or shooter for Kid himself, then he of course will get more attack, which means that his special does more damage. If you are in a treasure map and Kid is a boosted character in the treasure map, his base stats are boosted, which means his end of turn damage is boosted by a large margin. Just lots of different components can enhance his damage by a really, really big margin. And that's the main reason why this character is so good, because you can literally allow his special to wave clear enemies that have a lot of defense or something something like that, or if the enemy is just really annoying to deal with, you can allow his special damage to be the nice extra chip of damage that you need to KO the enemy. If the enemy has resilience, he gets around resilience. He gets around a lot of different things, and just the amount of damage he can provide just for free is very useful. And the really cool thing about him is when you rainbow him out, he does have this ability right here. At the start of the fight, he reduces his own cooldown by 11 turns, which means, of course, when you look at it, 12 turn cooldown, with at least 1 turn of cooldown reduction with sockets, he is fully maxed out at the start of the fight. So you can just spam it straight away, start reducing your cooldowns, and deal lots of AoE damage. I definitely think Coliseum Kid is one of the most useful free-to-play characters in the game, and it's definitely the #1 Coliseum character I personally use in the game right now. But there we go, that's my full list of running down my top 10 useful Coliseum units. There's definitely characters that are not on this list that are very good. Coliseum Rayleigh is a very good one. Coliseum Shiryu is also really, really good. And there are really good ones coming down the line as well, so definitely look forward to that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video today, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.